Do it. I pressed the button. We're live.
Yay!
Good morning, Debbie Dudar.
Good morning, Bertie. How are we doing?
Very well. It's a good Friday, isn't it, so far?
It is a good Friday. It's not bad. I like Fridays. I wake up and I journal every day, and every Friday it's like, yay, it's Friday. Come on. It's almost the weekend. It's funny how when you create your own business, you still enjoy the space at the weekend, which is what we're talking about today, isn't it?
It is.
Creating space.
That's one of your non-negotiables, isn't it, the weekends?
Yes, it is. Although I've got some homework to do because I'm doing a coaching certification, and I think maybe I need to start working at the weekend just to get that done. But ordinarily, not working at the weekend is definitely one of my non-negotiables.
Yes, well, that's exactly what we're going to go into today. I'm a little bit nervous because there is a tree cutting person cutting down next door's tree, which goes right through our phone line. And I've had this before where someone's taken our phone line out. So if it goes off, if I disappear, then you know why the phone lines come down. So on 10
we'll just blame the tree surgeon for creating too much space amongst trees.
Anyway, welcome today. Welcome if you're watching live. Welcome if you're listening to the podcast, and welcome if you're watching on the replay. If you are watching live, then please do chirp in with any comments, questions, hit that like button. You know what to do. Let's be interactive. We've got 10 minutes talking about creating space. So
I love this idea of creating space because I think that a lot of time when we run businesses, we tend to fill our days with all the things that we need to do, run our businesses. The client calls, the work, creating new products, whatever that is. And our diaries tend to look a little bit overloaded. And I feel like when we're in that space where we're filling it all, it's really difficult to do that stuff where you're working on the business rather than in the business. And I really believe, like, there's lots of studies that boredom leads to creativity, like not looking at your phone, just staring at a wall, going for a walk, turning the laptop off. All of that stuff, actually, it's when we stop the noise that ideas surface up and we think about things in a different way. So I'm really keen for us all to actively create space where we have nothing in that space, so that we can allow ideas and creativity and innovation to come in. And I think a lot of the time we just fill the space with stuff because we're told that busyness is good, and that having a full diary means that we're successful. So we're kind of a little bit scared of nothing.
Yes, absolutely. And it's really common. And I think it's difficult, isn't it, especially when you're working on your own, because I think it's hard to create that space. Especially if we've come from like a 9-to-5 corporate environment, we're so used to being told what to do. So we have all of these things that we just, move from pillar to post, then we've got meetings, and you get to 5 o'clock, you're like, I've finished. When you run your own business, it's very, very different because you're in control of everything. And generally what you don't do is in fact, let me just step back a bit. When you're in that corporate environment, someone is actually doing the planning and figuring out how to move that business for you. So when you're running your own business, you have to do that. Like it is like Debbie calls them non-negotiables. It's a non-negotiable part of your business. The problem is when we start to do that, it actually feels like we're not working. It's like,
like we're lazy.
Yeah, I'm sat there, I'm just playing about on my whiteboard today, or I'm just drawing with some pens. It feels like you're not working because maybe you're not working with a client. And it's a really difficult mindset thing to overcome. Yeah. Once it clicks. And then actually you can create space. And like, do you know what? I'm not speaking to anybody today because I need to plan my content for the month, or I need to plan how I'm actually going to grow this business, because you do spend time working in it and not on it. So common, everybody does it. So let's talk about some tips, shall we? Or what else have you got to add, Dudar?
Yeah, I think all of that's great. And maybe it's about actually, rather than feeling guilty about that space where you're doing nothing, to actually build it into your working week or your month. So at the end of every quarter, I like to have a day off where I just reflect on the quarter before, like what went well, what didn't, how many clients did I convert, what products did I create, what social media worked, and then try and take that learning to then look forward to the next kind of 3 months. So I like to do it like in a quarterly way that's kind of, factored in and built into my diary. But also I like to have like Friday afternoons off to just stare out of the wall or catch up with stuff. And a lot of the clients, sometimes they say, they might say to me, you've got lots of stuff on and you're doing lots of stuff. How do you manage to do it all? And then when I let them know that sometimes I just do nothing for an afternoon, they're kind of shocked. Like, what? Like, and I'm like, no, you can do that too. And we talked about this idea of giving yourself permission, didn't we? Quite a while ago. And I think it's back to this. It's like giving yourself permission to do nothing. It's really key, because when we're in the minutiae of what we're doing, it's difficult to pull out and see the bigger picture and sort of reflect and grow, isn't it? How do we grow our businesses if we're always just on that kind of cog, that cycle wheel?
What does minutiae mean?
The nitty gritty, the little bits within it, all the, the like, oh my God, I've got to answer my emails and I've got to do this thing and I've got to do my tax return. Those little things that you have to do to run the business.
Yeah.
Take up a lot of time, not that rewarding.
Yeah. And this is the thing, I think, with task lists, things like that, you can have a huge list of task lists, and it's almost you're still in that mindset of a tick on the list is I'm actually working, but actually not all ticks are equal.
Here's my list of things to do.
I can have that. I quite like that. Not all ticks are equal, because you could be doing things that actually aren't growing your business. And I think to actually, what I advise people to do is, and it isn't rocket science, but you do have to trust the process. So you have to trust if someone's giving you some advice on it, or if you have planned out that actually I'm going to spend an hour a week planning my week, then just do it. Trust yourself. Because a lot of the time when these things are in our diaries, and I'm victim of this as well, I do it to myself. There's something in the diary that I've put. So example, I have an hour a week where I plan my ideas. And basically, so as I'm going along, I've got notepads that I jot things down. I've got notes. Every week, those ideas get collated into one big list. And the idea behind that then is, if there's something it's like, suddenly, like, whenever you have an idea, it's the best idea in the world, isn't it? Like, wow, this is going to change my business. Like, overnight, I've got to do this straight away. And then you open another tab and then get on it, and then you're forgetting what you're doing. And it's a massive productivity killer. What I do, jot it down. But then I can jot it down because I know that I've got an hour every week where I look at those ideas and actually think, are they any good, and prioritize them, and then pick out a few of those ideas and just stick them in my diary to work on them. And if they work, great, I'll double down on them. If they don't, well, I've not really lost anything. But that's the process. And I have to create that space for myself. Otherwise, because as soon as I'm not lose concentration, that's when those ideas are coming in. They're like, oh, Bertie, do this, do that, do this, do that. And if I did all of the things that pop into my head, I wouldn't have a business.
No.
So I have to create the space to do them. And that's one thing that I do is have that 1 hour a week where I just go through those ideas and prioritize them.
Steve's just
said an idea down.
I like Steve's quote. He says, "You can't do a good job if your job is all you do." Wow, that's kind of deep, isn't it? Like, let's untangle that.
Child, isn't it? That one, Steve Clark.
That's really what we're talking about, isn't it? But I think also, like, time for tinkering. That idea of just tinkering and playing and curiosity. And I think to be really good business owners, it's being curious about things, isn't it? And allowing space for those ideas to grow and play with them. And they might not work, and they might work sometimes, but it's having that space to kind of have a play and have a tinker and be curious and be flexible and allow things to come in. And I think if you're totally rigid with what you're doing and where you're going, you're not allowing that creativity and flexibility to come in. So I'm really all about being curious. And somebody yesterday sent me loads of podcasts. Listen to all these podcasts about being curious. And I'm like, yeah, I love that. I love the idea of kind of having a curiosity mindset. Like, how can we be more curious in our business and just sort of look at it from an outside point of view and just being like, oh, what does this look like? Or what if I change that little bit? And actually those moments of boredom when we have nothing scheduled in is when our minds start kind of ticking over and kind of mentally tinkering a little bit, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And that's right. And you do need that. That's where your ideas come from generally, isn't it? Like, they'll come while you're in the shower, or when you're just doing something that it's just, but put space in your diary. So the other part to the process and there's a lot more to this, but I can just give you some very quick tips. Write down your ideas as they come along. Second, put some time in your diary to actually go through and just pick out some of those. but then have another slot in your diary. So let's just say the 30 minutes just to go through and prioritize that. It might take you 10, it might take you an hour. Just it depends how many ideas you've had, but prioritize them. Then put 2 hours in your diary as a start point a week where you do nothing else but work on those top ideas. Because those ideas, they'll be things to grow your business. You won't be having ideas how to make your tax accounts a little bit more efficient and things. These are your big things. So actually set time aside to do them. And you might find then that once you work on that 2 hours, that might turn into a day or 2 days a week and all of that stuff. But you've got to create the space, hence the title of today's talk, to be able to do that. Because if you don't, nobody else is going to do it for you, especially if you're working on your own. We don't have a big boss telling us what to do anymore. It's down to us.
That's the joy of it, though, isn't it? We don't have a big boss. But I'd love to know, write in the comments, where do your ideas come to you? Because I find this really fascinating, because a lot of people talk about their ideas coming to them in the shower. So if you're listening and that's a hit for you, then let us know if they come to you in the shower, because I think of nothing in the shower. I'm like a brain dead moron. I can't imagine that ideas would come to me in the shower. I'm literally just like, whatever time of day I am in, there are no ideas in the shower. My ideas come like when I'm asleep or just as I'm about to drop off, or when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I've come up with an idea. Like my ideas are in that kind of halfway between sleeping and waking time. So I'm really jealous of these people that have all these innovative ideas when they're washing their hair, because I literally get into that hot water and think of nothing. That's like brain dead time for me. So when do you get your ideas, Bertie?
The shower, and where I used to get them a lot is it's always the shower, but driving. So because I don't really have, when I drive, it's almost a bit meditative. Like I don't even have music on. Like I do enjoy putting music on, but when I used to like commute a lot and drive to London a few times a week, literally I could do that whole like 3-hour journey, or 2 hours depending how fast I was driving, without any sound. But all I would be doing was just be thinking of nothing, and then the ideas would come. So that was always a good period of stillness where those ideas come.
Yeah, and it's those moments of boredom, isn't it? I think it's really funny. I used to love driving with music on when I was a teenager, or younger, actually. But now I like silence in the car as well. And I think we're lacking those times a little bit now, aren't we? Because we're not commuting anywhere. I don't really drive my car anywhere anymore, not for like distances. So we're having to find those times when really we enter a trance when we drive, don't we? It's like you get from A to B and you're like, how did I get here? I've got no idea. You just sort of automatically drive in that unconscious way, and that is when those ideas filter up. So Nikki said the shower. Tamara down here, I can see, when she's on her bike. So that idea of like traveling from one place to the other, your brain knows what it needs to do in that time. It doesn't need to be thinking about it because it's just automatic. And then that's when those ideas can pop up. And at the end of meditation, I've got meditation's not really, I've tried it, but I can't really get into it. But I've got lots of clients who love meditating, and they have a pen and paper next to them. And when they come out of that, they write down those ideas. So finding those times, those things that you do automatically that don't take up, like washing up. You know, you can sort of be washing up and just sort of staring out of the window and then just thinking, ooh, that's a good thing. So creating those moments of nothingness is key. So Steve Clark, and he is my dad, so maybe I get this from him, going to bed and waking up. Maybe it's genetic. Like I'm reading a book about habits at the moment, and it said it stopped looking at whether genes affect habits, because it literally does. Our genes affect our habits every single time. So maybe our genes affect how we get ideas in our heads as well. But I think it's really interesting, this whole discussion. It's kind of quite deep and psychological, and just allowing ourselves to create that space is key. We're not made to be busy all the time, are we? Like, and this thing, the Black Mirror, it takes up so much of our time, and actually putting that away in a drawer somewhere and just staring out of the window could be the best thing that you could do for your business, today. So let's all give yourself permission to put your phone in a drawer and just stare out of the window for, even 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be a massive amount of time, and just allow your brain to just be quiet and think about an amazing idea might pop up that might change your life. So
exactly. And this is advice that I give to people all the time. And it's not that we're not making it up here. Like every single comment that has just come through is ideas have come not generally, all the time when you're doing nothing. Like, yes, as in, or something repetitive or meditative. So yeah, meditation on a bike, you're not there consuming content. You're not thinking about anything. Literally, you're just letting your mind wander. The gym as well, for me, is another sort of place where they come. The same type of thing. So yeah, but the trick then to developing those ideas is write them down and then create some space to work on them.
Can we talk about that next week?
Yes, let's do it.
So next week, I'd like to talk about a bit more about where ideas come from and then how do we act on them? Because everybody's got ideas, but it's the acting that makes the ideas come to life, isn't it? Because, I'll be quiet. I've got lots to say about this. So yeah, let's talk about this next week.
Okay, might be a two-parter. Okay. So, we'll just sign off with Steve Clark in the bath relaxing. Hopefully that's where your ideas come and not where you are right now, Steve. But anyway, thanks for that image. So, it's been we've overrun again, haven't we? This is what happens when we get
just got too much to say, Bertie. Thank you all for listening. If you're watching afterwards, let us know where your ideas come. I think that's super fascinating. And we'll be back next week to talk about a bit more about where these ideas come from and how do we act on them? What's the next stage?
Exactly. So all of this good stuff that you're thinking about when you're in the bath and all the other places, now we're going to do something about it. So that's what we're doing next week. And I'm getting pointy because it's so exciting. See you next week, Debbie. It's been fantastic. Thanks, everyone, for watching, listening, wherever you are. And we'll see you next Friday.
Thanks, Ali, Nikki, Tamara, Steve. Bye.